She walked into the room like an actress stepping onto the stage far too late, and he looked at her as if he already knew the ending. 6 years of life dissolved into a single sentence. I'm seeing someone else. No shouting, no scene, just steel eyes and a quiet, who is he? The one she once called just a coworker turned out to be the beginning of the end. And while she searched for freedom in someone else's arms, he began writing his own script, without blame, without drama, without a chance for rewrites. One day, one suitcase, one unspoken choice. She thought she was still in control, but the game had long since changed its rules. And when she returned, convinced her place was still waiting, she didn't recognize the home, nor the man who once waited for her words, because he wasn't waiting anymore. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watch this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started. I should have caught it sooner, not because something blew up between us or because there was a dramatic shift that couldn't be overlooked. It crept in slowly. Changes so minor they're invisible unless you're really tuned in. Like how she'd take a beat before replying, as though weighing whether it was even worth saying anything at all. Or how her phone seemed fused to her palm. Dinner had turned quiet, where it used to be filled with easy chatter, mindless stories, and talk of weekend plans. I still remember the exact moment it all crystallized. We were on the couch, like we had been so many times before. I was going on about a busted pipe at work, how water flooded the place and the building supervisor practically had a meltdown. She smiled at the story, but there was no warmth in it. That was the moment I understood. She was physically present, but mentally somewhere far away. 6 years of marriage. Beatrice and I had built a quiet life together, nothing extravagant, but solid. We didn't ride emotional roller coasters, and I thought that steadiness was something to be proud of. Turns out, I was mistaken. It was a Thursday evening when she finally said what she came to say. I was standing in the bedroom, flipping through a mess of bills and old envelopes stacked on the dresser. She came in, paused in the doorway like she was waiting for a director to cue her and said, "Can we talk?" I didn't sit, just stood there, waiting. "I'm seeing someone," she told me, eyes locked on the floor. It wasn't intentional. I nodded slowly. "Who is it?" I asked. There was a pause. "Andrew." The name hit me like a steel pipe to the chest. Andrew, her former coworker. The one who was always leaving quirky comments under her Instagram posts, tagging old inside jokes. The same guy she once brushed off as a harmless goof. I kept my voice even. "How long's it been going on?" 2 months, she said, finally meeting my gaze. "We haven't slept together." I kept my eyes on hers. "But you want to." She didn't respond. That silence told me everything. I sat down on the edge of the bed, leaning forward with my elbows on my knees. There was no anger yet. Just a frozen, hollow stillness, like a circuit had blown and everything was moving in slow motion. She stepped in a bit closer. "I don't want to end things, Richard. I'm just lost." "I still care about you," she added. I looked right at her. "You're saying you care, while your heart's already with someone else." "I didn't go looking for this," she said, her voice catching. "With Andrew, I feel seen, like I matter." I didn't speak for a while. I let the silence do the work. Then I asked, "So, what now?" She exhaled. "I need some time. I need space to figure out what this all means, what we are." I stood up. "So you want to try things with him, while I just wait around, just in case it doesn't work out?" "That's not how I see it." "But it's exactly what you're doing," I said, quiet but firm. She didn't argue, just stood there like a kid who got caught doing something they knew they shouldn't. I walked past her without another word, not because I had nothing left to say, but because everything that needed saying had already been said. She left the following morning. No dramatic scene, no suitcases, just an overnight bag and that forest green coat she always tied twice at the waist. She didn't offer a destination, and I didn't ask. I knew. It was Andrew. She lingered in the entryway for a second. I was at the dining table, coffee in hand, not bothering to lift my eyes. "I'm not sure how long I'll be gone," she said. "This isn't goodbye, just time apart." I stayed silent. She hesitated like she expected some reaction, a plea, a tear, maybe a last-minute change of heart. All she got was the soft clink of my spoon against the ceramic mug. Then she was gone. I waited until her car faded down the street before getting up. The quiet that followed didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the house itself was trying to get used to her absence, murmuring her name in the walls. I didn't pick up the phone, didn't reach out to friends, didn't post cryptic quotes online. I just started peeling her out of the place, one object at a time. The mirror she insisted we hang by the hallway? Removed. That aloe plant she doted on in the bathroom? Thrown out. It wasn't about vengeance. I just needed a space that didn't breathe her name every time I turned a corner. By lunchtime, I was at my computer, staring at a fresh document titled Separation Plan. This wasn't retaliation. It was just the next step. That night, she sent me a message. "Hope today wasn't too hard. I'll check in tomorrow." I read it once, then typed back, "Take your time." That was all. No prying questions. No aching, "I miss you." No wondering where she was or who she was with. Deep down, I already understood this wasn't just a temporary pause. She was testing the waters with someone new, looking for something I couldn't provide. What she didn't get was that I wasn't going to stay suspended in place while she figured out her heart. She thought she had all the time in the world, but in truth, her time was already slipping away. By the second week, her messages changed. They came more frequently, and with more depth. No more surface-level check-ins, but real thoughts. One stood out. "I've been thinking a lot about what we had. Being away feels off. Andrew, he's not who I thought." I missed talking to her. That line landed differently than anything she'd said before. I read it twice, then set my phone down. I didn't rush to respond. Instead, I waited until morning before sending a simple message back. "I'm doing all right. Hope things are okay with you too." It was short, polite, emotionless, and it threw her off balance. Her replies started to shift, less confident, more cautious. She asked if I was sleeping okay, wondered if the house felt any different, asked if I'd moved things around. Then she brought up counseling. Not just for herself, she meant both of us. It was like watching someone slowly realize their escape plan had failed. That's when I started thinking practically. One of my colleagues, Julian, had gone through something like this not too long ago. Quiet guy, sharp. He once told me about a lawyer who handled his separation with total discretion. No drawn-out mess, no unnecessary drama. He swore it was the smartest choice he'd made. I trusted his instincts. That same night, I contacted Victoria. By the next afternoon, I had a consultation scheduled. Beatrice had no idea. She still acted like things were just on pause, like she'd return and everything would go back to how it was. One night, she called from an unfamiliar number. I almost let it ring out. When I answered, her voice was soft, careful. "Hey, it's me." "Yeah, I figured. I just needed to hear your voice." I stayed quiet. "Andrew and I—" She hesitated. "It's not what I thought it would be. He hasn't changed. Still shuts down. Still sulks when things get hard." It sounded like she'd tried to step back into a memory, only to realize it had never really been solid. I didn't offer her comfort. "Sometimes things stay in the past for a reason," I said. She didn't respond. I let the silence stretch out. "Do you think we could meet? Talk in person?" she eventually asked. Maybe, I replied, if the time feels right. I ended the call because I hadn't finished building the next chapter of my life yet. 3 weeks after she walked out, I sat in Victoria's office, signing the documents. She was focused and to the point, professional, efficient. She'd reviewed the prenup and walked me through a clean, direct exit strategy. No drama, no back and forth, just a quiet, clean slate. From there, I headed straight to the bank, opened a new account, redirected my pay, divided up the utilities still in both our names. Quiet moves, deliberate ones. Meanwhile, Beatrice was unraveling. Her messages turned sentimental. Remember that storm during the lake trip? We ended up in that diner all night. Another one read, I've been writing, trying to make sense of things. I think I messed up. Then came the one that made her desperation clear. Can we talk? I'd like to stop by. No pressure, just talk. I waited until the next day to reply. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., just to talk. She showed up at 9:57, same coat, but her eyes told a different story, tired, uncertain, maybe clinging to hope. When she walked in, she looked around like she didn't recognize the place. I'd changed the furniture, painted the walls a warmer tone, updated the kitchen lights. You painted? She said. Yeah. It feels different. We sat across from each other. No hugs, no wine, just distance, stillness. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, controlled, like she'd rehearsed it. I thought I needed to figure things out, to see what else was out there. But Andrew wasn't the answer. He's the same, entitled, withdrawn. Now I see it. I listened without reacting, then stood up, went to a drawer, and brought back a folder. What's that? She asked. I placed it on the table. Everything's in here. She opened it. Divorce papers. Her hands shook slightly. You're serious? I've been serious since the day you left, I said. You just didn't want to believe it. She stared at the paperwork like she didn't recognize the language. You don't have to do this, she whispered. We can work on it. I'm ready now. I understand what I did. But I didn't move. I'm not angry, Beatrice, I said. But I'm not going to rebuild something you were willing to walk away from. That's not how this works. She touched the folder lightly, like maybe that gesture could erase what it meant. I was lost. I thought Andrew could give me clarity. But being with him only reminded me why I left in the first place. That was the first time she said it that way. Left him. Andrew wasn't just someone she worked with. He was part of her past. A chapter she thought needed revisiting. The irony is, in 6 years, she never admitted that. He was always just Andrew from the office. Just a co-worker. I guess it made everything easier to understand. I sank back into my chair. So, you went back to him? I asked. While you were off chasing certainty, I was here, trying to salvage what was left. I panicked, she said quietly. I didn't know how to talk to you. You always seem so in control, Richard. I didn't think you'd even want to fight for us. That's where you were wrong, I replied. You took my silence as a sign that I didn't care, but that wasn't the case at all. It was strategy, stillness. I needed to see who you'd become when you thought I'd stopped watching. Her lips drew tight. So all this time, you were just waiting for your moment to leave? No, I said gently. I was figuring out how to keep going after you. Her eyes stayed dry, but her voice wavered. Can't we try something? Therapy? Just once? Don't we owe that to ourselves? I stood up slowly. You owed that before you walked out. She blinked like the truth had only now caught up to her. You're actually doing this. I nodded. This moment already came and went. You just didn't see it. She sat motionless, lost in the pause. I walked into the kitchen, filled a glass of water, and waited. After a while, she rose too, hugging a folder close like it might give her back something she'd misplaced. So, this is really it, she murmured. For me, it ended 3 weeks ago, I said. This is just the paperwork. She stepped outside without another word. No hug, no parting tears, just the muted sound of her shoes on the pavement and the car door closing behind her. That was the final time Beatrice crossed my threshold, but nowhere near the last time I'd wonder how she left so easily. 2 months have passed since the divorce was finalized. No attempts to reconcile, no tearful late-night phone calls, just an email with a PDF from her lawyer, and silence ever since. The house doesn't feel haunted anymore. It feels like it belongs to me again. I replaced the bedding, donated her favorite armchair, and tossed out that framed cityscape she adored, the one she said looked like infinite opportunity. I always thought it looked like smog. I didn't make a public post, no status updates, no soul-bearing monologues about starting fresh. I just moved forward, quietly, intentionally. Beatrice hasn't contacted me since, not a text, not even a like. But once in a while, I see her name pop up in the viewers of my stories. That's enough. I don't need an apology. I don't need closure neatly gift-wrapped in the form of one final conversation. Nobody really talks about the strange peace that arrives when you finally stop hoping someone will come back. When you begin choosing yourself instead, and realize that's more than enough. A couple weekends ago, I got in the car and just drove. No map, no timeline. I ended up in a sleepy little town with a cozy cafe tucked beside a used bookstore. I spent the whole afternoon there, reading, jotting thoughts into a notebook. A woman named Celeste sat nearby and noticed the novel I was flipping through. We started chatting. We talked about fresh starts and how healing isn't always loud or cinematic. It's soft, subtle, barely noticeable. She gave me her number, no pressure, no promises, just a kind and genuine moment. On the drive back, I realized something. I hadn't thought about Beatrice the entire time. Not once, not where she was, not if she missed me. She'd become background noise in a life that had finally found its rhythm again. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't about winning. It was about waking up in the morning and making coffee without bracing for another emotional ambush. It was about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole. Maybe that was the real love story all along. Then came last Saturday, frozen foods aisle. I was reaching for a bag of peas. She was going for oat milk. We both paused. She seemed smaller, not physically, just dimmed, like someone who hadn't had a good night's sleep in a while. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." We stood there, letting the world rush past us. "You look good," she said. "Thanks." "So do you," I offered, even though it wasn't exactly true. I figured it was something she needed to hear. The silence wasn't tense, just tired. She glanced at my shopping cart. "Cooking for someone?" I smiled. "Just me." She nodded slowly, as if that was harder to comprehend than it should have been. "I keep thinking about that day," she said. "You were so calm. I expected yelling, something bigger." "That's not how I fight," I said with a shrug. She laughed, but it was a fragile sound, equal parts remorse and realization. "I get that now." We stood there for a bit longer, wrapped in everything unspoken. She shifted like there was something more she wanted to say, but couldn't quite find the words. "Are you happy?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Not because I was unsure, but because I wasn't. I was certain. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.